Hi, today is May 13th, 2024. It's about 1:25 p.m. I haven't done a recording in a while and I've been thinking about it, but the big thing that stopped me from doing a recording was what has really changed. Has anything truly changed since the last time I did a recording? But I think it was important for me to actually do a recording just to show some of the consistency with what I'm doing and what the latest update is. Okay, so what I have here on my screen is QQQ. My feelings for QQQ have not changed whatsoever. I believe that this is where things will be heading in the future. 5 years from now, that this will be up. I wouldn't say a lot more than most things, but just for what I expect it to be. I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but if you look over the years, it's definitely been up double digit, and I don't expect it to do any worse than what the overall market is going to do. So I remain invested in QQQ as my primary instrument. So we've had a few rough weeks, I would say, but it looks now, looking at this green line, which represents the 20-day moving average, crossing over a 50-day moving average, it looks like we are still maintaining somewhat of an uptrend with a quick break. Not sure how long this is going to last, but truthfully, a year or two from now, I expect this to be continuing up higher. Eventually rates are going to drop. We kind of know this. We don't know exactly when, but rates are going to drop. And when rates drop, it gives some companies a bit more leeway in terms of interest rate payments, etc. And the expectation, notice I didn't say that is exactly what will happen, but the expectation is that the market continues to move higher. So my bet is on QQQ moving higher. So how does this figure into my portfolio? So if I go over to my spreadsheet, one of the things that I bought with a little bit of extra cash was a little Bitcoin. So I used this IBIT fund to buy some exposure in Bitcoin rather than just let it sit in cash. The rest of it is sitting in a money market fund. The most of it, my initial 2K, so 1.4K is sitting there in this fund. I have a little bit in UPRO, and which is the 3 times leveraged S&P 500, and about 13 shares of TQQQ. I think I missed a Q there. Which is a 3 times leverage QQQ as well. And the reasons why I figured that I'll use the QQQ and the S&P 500 triple leverage funds is because it allows me to control a little bit with a lot and be able to put the rest of the money into this fund, making 5%, which in my mind reduces not only the exposure of most of my money, but it also reduces the risk. So as you can see here, that I'm really only invested 38% of my funds, with 62% in cash, which brings my exposure to about 109%, really with only 38% on the hook. Okay. For TQQ, I'm at 32% right now. I typically try to keep that in a range of around 30%. If it gets up to 35%, that's when I will trim it a bit. Same with the UPRO. If it gets up to maybe over 5%, I might trim it a little bit. Okay, and that is kind of where I am. So I haven't done any trades recently whatsoever. I've just sat and just let this happen. So what does that look like from a performance point of view? So if I go over to my account here and remember I invested 2,000 initially back sometime last year. If we look at the year to date, this is how it compares to the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. So NASDAQ 100, QQQQ, basically kind of the same. All right. So my account is at 759% up for the year. The NASDAQ 100 itself is up 7.94. But the difference is that I am achieving this. This assumes that I am 100% invested in the NASDAQ 100. Whereas from what I showed you before, I'm only about 30 something, 38% invested. Okay, everything else is sitting in cash. But still yet I'm able to achieve this 7.59%, which I think is pretty good. S&P 500 is at 9.49%, but my expectation really is that by the end of the year, this NASDAQ 100 is going to beat the S&P 500. That's my expectation. If not, since I'm holding about 62% in cash, if it goes down, then I feel comfortable with that. All right. So where do I truly stand right now? If I look at my positions, I have 38% gain in the Bitcoin fund. I do have the cash, the 1.4K that I told you about in this fund that gives a 7-day current yield of 5.2%. I have some TQQQ, UPRO. I have about $57 of cash, which, I might as well just transfer. I'm not going to do anything special with it. So that is basically it. There's nothing more new that I'm doing. Maybe if the market drops some more, I might buy a little bit more. It didn't drop enough for me to do that. So I'm just basically maintaining the averages that I set for myself. And nothing much has changed since then, and that's what I'm doing. So here's an update. It's been a long time, but I just felt like I needed to make this now. So this is it.